I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
I'm not even supposed to be here today! Oh, fuck you!
Come on, you want me to drive? You're supposed to be suicidal. Remember, I'll
Anybody
drive.
a drive?
Get in the car. Fuck me in the ass. Fuck you, you stupid cunt.
Yep. A sequel to a modern Sandler comedy. A first film that I think is a little overhated, and I think is underrated. And doesn't really deserve much of the over-exaggerated hate it gets. What I can't agree with people on, the sequel, on the other hand, is pretty much a sequel that does deserve the hate it gets. Because they are actually right about this one. This is an example of a dogshit sequel that was not made with a plot, made with no plan, clearly just made for the money, because Grown Ups 1 made money. Yeah, and has a cult base, so it's like one of those films where it's like the makers of the first one decided to just reunite, pretty much just play themselves, walk around this small town with a camera, and reminiscent about their younger days. I guess that's the story of whatever the hell this was supposed to be. Because there's no story. I'm getting to this a little... I should have said this part first, but Don G. Corleone here, and I'm already here with an epic rant. And this epic rant is going to be for Grown Ups 2 from 2013. What's the plot of this? What really is the plot? Really, all the plot is, well, this time around, Sandler's character for Grown Ups 1 moves his family back to this small town where apparently, that was never mentioned in the first one, he grew up in. Oh, you don't... Oh, and guess what? The movie starts? No, you don't see them moving back in. You just see them already there. They don't explain... They don't show them even moving there. They don't. But they go back there because apparently all his childhood friends and their kids live there, despite the fact it clearly looked like they lived in separate areas. But apparently between old bullies or new bullies, drugged bus driver, gross, disgusting bus drivers, played by Nick Swartzen, idiot, unprofessional cops on skis, or psycho grade school girlfriends, and 400 costume party crashes, apparently crazy follows you. That's the plot. Really no purpose. Well, how was this made? Well, guys, Grown Ups 1. It did not get good reviews, but it made money. $271 million worldwide. So I guess that meant, let's do a sequel. But if people didn't like the first one, then why would you do a sequel? Nobody liked... If people hated the first film, then there's no reason to make another one. I'm sorry, but there isn't. And besides, first one is one of those films I like, but it's fine on its own. But filming began in Massachusetts, and it ended in May 2012 and ended July 15th, 2012. Yeah, it was once again distributed by Columbia Pictures Happy Madison. It was written by 3 people: Adam Sandler, Fred Wolf, and Tim Hurley. and was directed by Dennis Duggan. Yeah, get this, guys. 3 people wrote this piece of shit. 3. Yeah, so anyway, after Grumps 2 was shot and marketed, it got released by the 2 companies that did the first film on July 12, 2013. Like the first one, this got similarly panned by critics, but still made money because it made $247 million worldwide on an $8 million budget. Despite the fact that nobody liked the first one, apparently they still got... Okay, so if a lot of people hate the first one, then why did people go see the sequel? Then. Why would you go see the sequel if you didn't like the first? That's weird. Thought you guys didn't like the... I thought most of these box office audiences didn't like the first one. And this is coming from somebody that does like the first one. In fact, actually, I know a lot of people that do like the first one. I have friends that like the first one, alright? It's hated by critics, but there's quite a few people that do like the first one, but still, if the critics don't like the first one, then you really didn't need to make this. Like, but as for my reaction, yeah, first one is one of those things I find underrated and I can enjoy. But I can agree with everybody the sequel sucks. And guys, like, I saw this in theaters when this came out. At first, I was like, maybe that wasn't bad. It was I just thought it was back then. Because back then I was in high school. Looking at it now, yeah, it is awful. And it shows the problem with the newer Sandler 2010 comedies back then. The earlier ones. The ones he did before Uncut Gems redeemed him. The fact, like, it's like Sandler the Game knew this movie was so unnecessary that they had no plan whatsoever. They just wanted the movie for the money. This was just made to cash in on the first one's box office, despite the fact that the first one wasn't well received. Here's the thing, like, yeah, Hangover had unnecessary sequels. The difference was that Hangover 1 got positive reviews and got positive acclaim from comedy fans. And that made more money than Grown Ups. So I guess maybe you could see why some people were excited to watch a sequel. I guess. And then they all saw and they hated it. Too. Like this, though. The first one was badly received. But that didn't stop people from seeing it. And I actually enjoyed the first one. I said that too many times now, but still. The first one had a plan. That's the short. The first one didn't have much of a plot either, but there was still a plan. There was still somewhat of a plan in the movie. You at least knew what the movie was about. This one, what's this about? There's nothing about this. First one was about some guys getting together, reuniting after so long to mourn their basketball coach. The guy that mentored them pretty much mentored them in their childhood. They were getting together to mourn him. That was the plan for the movie. And pretty much kind of like reminiscing about how their lives are now, and just getting together for like one weekend, and pretty much raising their kids and their child. Pretty much raising their kids to live their childhood. Like, trying to kind of change their kids of their spoiled behavior. Like, make them better kids. Throughout the movie too. That was the plan. The first one had a plan. This has no plan. You want to know how this movie starts off? I kid you not, like, the fact this movie starts off with a fucking CGI deer in Adam Sandler's room. Salma Hayek's character sees the deer, gets freaked out by it, and the deer immediately pisses in Sandler's mouth and on Sandler's face. Yeah, no, that's how this movie starts off. Yeah, then the deer runs around the house. It goes into the bathroom, and it pisses on his oldest son. In the shower. Yep, then it causes more mayhem. And then Sandler ends up taking his daughter's stuffed monkey, because the deer is attracted to the monkey, throws it outside, and the deer rips it. That's how this film starts off. Yeah, The fact that's how the movie starts, you know, that's how you know this film's gonna be shit. Apparently they thought that'd be funny. It's not. The CGI in the deer looks awful too. There's just no point or plot of this movie at all. There was nothing funny at all. The jokes were just crass and perverted to the point where this movie should have been rated R. It was just like, yeah, like, let's make hey guys, when we make a sequel to Grown Ups, let's just make it more dirty. Let's make it more adult. It almost has almost the same problems as The Hangover 2. Except this movie's not as mean-spirited as The Hangover 2, but it goes to the point where that's like, the first one was a little crass and dirty at times, but it was still a PG-13 movie. Okay, at least it still felt like a PG-13 film. This, though, this feels rated R. Like, I'm surprised this was not rated R. Like, seriously, like, and the dialogue was even gross, too. Like, this film even gets mean-spirited at times. Like, here's the thing, though. The first one was a little mean-spirited, but not to this point. Like, you can tell in the first one the friends still like one another. And they did care for their families. And they still had a bit of maturity to them. This was just one weekend where they were just being there at... It was just one weekend in the first one where they were just being there at kids' selves. This time. Because they're technically... Because you know they're buddies. So, of course, buddies usually mess around with one another. Okay, like... You can tell the friends cared about one another in the first one. This one... It's like they have no maturity and they learned nothing from the first film. At all. Here at all, because this film has no plan. Unlike the first one that had a concept and a plan. And a clear goal, and purely a goal. To reunite for one weekend. What's the goal of this movie? There is no goal. Anytime this movie tries to have a goal, it throws it out the window, it just resolves it in seconds. Grown Ups 2 is a film that does not like shape or form or try to be better or try to improve anything. The jokes are just aimed at the lowest denominator, and for all seriousness, like none of the actors or director, it's like they don't care about this film at all because once again, Grown Ups 1 made money, so they just made this for the money, and thinking like if they slap Grown Ups on the title, people that did like the first one will go see this. Because the first one has a few fans. Like as soon as this movie starts, none of the humor made me laugh. From the stupid-ass deer, to apparently David Spade finding out he apparently has this teenage son that was never mentioned in the first one at all. What do you have this movie? A CGI pissing deer, a blood feud with a group of teenagers, a biting, twerking baby, a frat party. No plot to speak of. That's all you get. And apparently, like, just pretty much, yeah, like, with the original, most of the original cast do come back, like Sandler, James, Chris Rock, David Spade, Maya Rudolph, Selma Hayek, Maria Bello. They're back in this one. This time around, they have some new members. When it comes to the new cast members, Taylor Lautner did fine. I'll admit that. The rest of our newbies, no. Like, the rest of the newbies weren't funny at all. The rest of the newbies were also annoying. We have Shaquille O'Neal playing this dumbass cop. Nick Swartzen, like, our new Rob Schneider. Yeah, Rob Schneider doesn't come back, and they don't mention his absence at all. Yeah, like, Rob Schneider had scheduling conflicts, so he couldn't come back for this, but they don't even explain why he's not even absent. Like, this movie just acts like Rob and his elderly wife don't exist. They never did. We get replaced by an unfunny replacement of Nick Swartzen. A gross Nick Swartzen bus driver. That apparently it's his brother, but they don't mention that Rob even had a brother in the first one either. They just clearly slapped, like, Hillard, because that Rob Schneider's character's last name in the first one was Hillard. So apparently they clearly gave this character Nick Hillard. There, to, like, pretty much, yeah, this is your new Rob Schneider wannabe. this gross, unhygienic bus driver that's on drugs in every single scene. Yeah, so how do we even start? Like, this is just, sorry I'm just stuttering, guys, but because like, this doesn't feel like a movie. This is just a bunch of filler scenes. So how do we start off this whole bunch of filler scenes compilation? So yeah, it starts off, Lenny's back in this town. We don't see them move into this town at all. We don't even open up with a narration. It starts off with them just there. Already. We get the CGI deer bit, and he throws the stuffed monkey at the deer to get it out of the house. That's how the movie starts. Like in the first film, when you have like Sandler takes his backseat, shows his calmer side of himself, and lets his other co-stars get some laughs from the audience. He's kind of toned down this, but this one, his earlier 2010 antics are definitely here. The one saving bit of his performance in this movie is that, unlike Jack and Jill or That's My Boy, he has been somewhat of that normal self back, somewhat. David Spade's back, and this one he just feels like a cameo at this rate. His sarcastic humor is pretty much gone. He doesn't do much at all in the film. Kevin James is back, and he also doesn't really get much of a role either. Just here for the sake of being here. Chris Rock's character does get a bit more in this film, but his character is just bland and he gets little to no depth unlike the other people. Yeah, Bella Rudolph and Hayek are back, and the three of them just feel so awkwardly placed in this film, and it's like they don't really match their husbands in this movie either. And like, Sandler even cracks a joke in one part of this movie about Hayek being his wife, but it's way too, like, silly to really understand. Plus, their chemistry in this film, they barely have good chemistry in this film. It's almost as if like they just resent one another here. Yep. And our like new cast sucks too. Especially like with Nick Swartzen's character not only just being just gross, unhygienic imposter of Rob Schneider's character. This time now just horrible, irritating, just downright stupid. Unlike Rob Schneider's character in the first film, that was actually really enjoyable. Yeah, Steve Buscemi, like he was in the first film. You could have just cut him out. You would have missed nothing. Other characters like Colin Quinn and Tim Meadows are back. And Tim Meadows is actually annoying in this film. But he has this irritating "what" line. Like they repeat how him, his son, his wife all say "what" to the point where it's not even funny. You have John Lovitz appearing briefly as a perverted janitor. Shaquille O'Neal is a dumbass cop. There's many other cameos just to throw in a bunch of big names, and that doesn't even save the film. The children were kind of a plot point of the first film, and the characters as children in this one, they're hardly used, and they're also irritating too in this one. It's almost like as if the kids' like character development in the first one just got thrown out the window. Hold that thought. Alright. Sorry about that, guys. Pretty much that. It's like, yeah. Not only is like Nick Swartzen this gross, unfunny Rob Schneider imposter, but yeah, they don't mention Rob. They don't mention his elderly wife, Gloria. Where the fuck were they at this whole time? Once again, the movie acts like their characters don't exist. They never mention why Sandler's now in this small town. No narration, no scene of them moving out of their Los Angeles mansion, no mention of what happened between them with the first two movies with them. And they barely mention any references to the first film. The only reference you get to the first film is when Wiley was in that body cast. Right there. That's the only mention of the first one you just kind of get. And just the characters still having the same names as the first one. So, You could just call this a separate film. Just the only difference is it still has all the actors of the first one, and they still have the names of the first one. They're just back for a bunch of filler scenes. We're still following Sandler's character, his hectic family life, and we follow the lives of his best friends too, and that's it. Is there really any point to what happens throughout this? Just set up one childish joke after one childish joke. If you try to make the jokes funny, then when you have there's times when there's filler stuff. Sometimes there's comedy films that don't have a plot. Like Naked Gun and Airplane, those are parodies, and the jokes in those were funny. Okay, those didn't really have plots either, but they weren't supposed to have a plot. Clerks doesn't have a plot either, except it was actually well shot and it was well written. Right? And you could tell Clerks was about something. Same with Dazed and Confused. Those films don't have plots, except for one instance, they're well written and stuff. Their characters are good in those films. This is almost like just the same as just referencing some of those kind of comedies or something like that. Trying to be like those movies, I mean, sorry guys. Except the gags are tired, unoriginal, and fatal. And you have just standard toilet and sexual humor. Most of it is just, you just have a series of cheaply staged, poorly performed gags that do nothing but make one reference after one reference. And seriously, it's like they don't even know who their target audience is here. Was this film meant to be for adults? Is this film meant to be for tweens or something? And they spend too much time giggling bathroom humor after bathroom humor. And as this film progresses, it redirects this more sentimental side, and then just shows the total strain the film has, which is just create nothing but unfunny anarchy for 40 minutes. And before showing that it's a story about being true to roots and taking care of family. That, I don't see any of that there, pretty much so. After the deer bit, Lenny dismisses his wife Roxanne's suggestion that they have a fourth child. Then Eric, though, worries, Sally's encouraging her children's self-confidence above all else. Kurt then gives his wife a gift for their anniversary. Apparently she forgot about that. And apparently the gift was stuffed in his baby's diaper. And when you see, their new baby child, throughout the film, the baby child often does this diaper twerking dance, which is not funny either. So, and then, of course, Marcus apparently finds out he has his teenage son, which was never referenced at all in the first movie, and has to spend the summer with him. Apparently the son was from one of his previous relationships, and he's immediately frightened by his teenage son that's taller than him, and apparently deeply hates him. Then, of course, Lenny commanders his children's school bus for Rob Hillard's unmentioned brother, the gross Nick Swartzen bus driver, the Rob Schneider wannabe. Replace the unfunny Rob Schneider replacement. And so Lenny has to commander the children's school bus. The weirdest thing is, they don't even mention, I thought, Lenny was, they mentioned, hey, you finally got a job. Didn't Lenny have a job in the first one? I thought he was a Hollywood agent. What happened to that? Did he just quit or something? Or, yeah, they don't mention that either. He's taking everyone their last day of school. Then he picks up his two other pals, and they go to no longer around Kmart. They get joined by Marcus, because apparently he sent Brandon to their school for one day. That's kind of weird, because he's not a student there, so he shouldn't really be allowed there. I don't think they would allow him to just be in a school for one day. No. That would not work. Then Kurt persuades Lenny to throw a party for the first day of summer. And they're discussing, apparently Lenny had a childhood bully, even though it's clear his childhood rival was Dickie Bailey from the first film. Why wasn't this Tommy character that's played by Steve Austin in the first film then? Then we have two police officers. They weren't mentioned in the first film. Why were they here? And these two idiot police officers that shouldn't even be police officers, because they suck at their job, clearly. They go to Sandler's daughter's ballet recital. who apparently, like, they're... Apparently the ballet instructor is apparently that attractive to all attractive, so... There, and you have one of the cops saying, "I want to arrest her for disturbing the peace in my pants." Yeah, that's not funny either. I didn't get a laugh out of me either. And apparently, like, yeah, all of Sandler's friends are also attracted to this instructor, as is the girl Swartzen character and the two cops. Right there, despite the fact that, like, apparently three of them are married. Like, that's weird. Like, yeah. The instructor is like engaged to Steve Austin's character, who was apparently this childhood bully of Sandler's character. Is this wasted Steve Austin role that was never mentioned in the first film. Despite the fact this character wasn't even in the first film, I thought Lenny's childhood rival was Dickie Bailey. Yeah, that's who I thought his childhood rival was. The first one made it clear that was his childhood rival. Just pretty much... Yeah, Dickie Bailey is back in this movie too, but even he's pointless. It's like everybody else who's not a lead character is in this whole movie just to be in this movie. Like there's times when even some of Sandler's bad comedies, like you could tell they're trying to be made for somebody. Even his good films, Happy Gilmore, Big Daddy, those were made for somebody. This though, a film made with no agenda whatsoever, no personality, no spirit. Just resorts to tireless Sandler cliche, and just having all like the male characters being the center of stupidity. And the female characters are just nothing but filler eye candy. Yeah, like the wives in this movie have nothing to do. There's like one scene where they really have together. They're literally in this yoga class. And yeah, get John Lovitz playing the perverted janitor. He tries to sneak in a fake warm-up routine and have him do sexual moves. And then the more attractive instructor comes in. And the janitor just stupidly exposes himself by saying, "Just say it's true even if it isn't." So the idiot just exposes himself. Wow. That is one idiot pervert. Totally just say, "It's not true," and totally just expose yourself. How smart is that? Then Maya Rudolph's infant son bites him, I think, on the ass or the leg. The girls are all mad at the janitor for being perverted to them. But then they act flirty with the instructor guy because he's more attractive. Despite the fact that these girls are all married. Oh, and you also have this hinted girlfriend. Apparently Marcus has this muscular girlfriend that's hinted to be a dude throughout the film. Despite the fact she doesn't even sound like a dude. Oh, the janitor even comes back during the ballet scene where he's spying on the instructor above the stage and says he's having a wonderful time there. How the hell did this guy even get to the school? How did he even get up on that? How did he even get above the stage without being noticed? I thought he worked at the workout place. Does he work at the school too? Does he suddenly work both two janitor jobs? That's never explained. So, there's no reason to bring the character back if it was just a cameo. Even have scenes of like Sandler yelling at his daughter's face, and it's supposed to be funny. It's not been funny though. Like, it was being done in a lot of his newer films. Like, just getting like the reference of them being attracted to the ballet teacher. That was just honestly uncomfortable to watch. Tim Meadows and his son just saying "what" repeatedly is also not funny at all. It's just cringy and it's really annoying. So after the day of school ends, Kurt's daughter Charlotte is gonna go on a date with Tim Meadows' son. Then Lenny's younger son is trying to struggle with this other bully that makes fun of Kevin James' daughter's shoes. Who literally just all of his like insults are. Even the whole class is clearly not barred by his insults because none of his insults make sense. Like, what'd you make them? Losers or us? How you made them? In a toilet? Like, nope. Like, even this guy sucks at being a bully. Or, like, when he's walking past Keith. You're not a statue. You're an ash Jew. Like, even they point out that doesn't even make any sense. Yeah, none of your insults make sense. This guy clearly can't even try to be, clearly sucks at even trying to be a school bully. And Charlotte Keith's older brothers, Andre and Greg, Then they go with like David Spades' apparently unexplained son to this abandoned quarry, and they join a college party. So then they go to this ice cream parlor house where apparently Dickie's now working, even though he worked in a diner in the first film. Now he suddenly works at an ice cream place. They humiliate him there. And then the four friends, they go to that same quarry where the college party is happening. Apparently they swam there during their youth. And they're trying to get Kevin James to do this jump he never tried to do when he was in his youth. And then they get confronted by these college guys, led by Milo and Andy, one of the Taylor Lautner's character, and they make them jump in naked from the highest point. Then, of course, their fraternity house later gets vandalized, and they think Lenny and his friends did it, and they swear revenge. Then the friends take Marcus's van that got vandalized by Braden to the auto body shop. And then Marcus ends up rolling through town in a giant runaway tire. Like, with how not enjoyable the characters in this whole town were being this time around, like, honestly, these characters just have me rooting for Lautner and his frat boys to win in this movie. And I can honestly, I can honestly see why they hate this town if it's full of immature morons who don't act their age or just being gross, unhygienic ones that wear horrible clothing. And when I say horrible clothing, the school principal actually wears Baby Gap clothes and eats a Fruit Loop out of his belly button during a last day of school speech to the entire class. Yeah, there's often a prank target with permanent paint. With having stated like the Baby Gap and the Fruit Loop, okay, that's not really a surprise. That's not a surprise. You constantly get humiliated and pranked by the whole class if you can't wear grown-up clothes. Yeah, no wonder kids prank you. And honestly, like with how much like a bunch of immature people are in this town, this whole town literally gives Springfield from The Simpsons a run for their money. Or South Park. The South Park residents a run for their money. Yeah, even the people of Springfield from The Simpsons are not this immature. There are some mature people in that town. There's some even mature people in South Park. There's like nobody mature in this. So yeah, most of these residents' behavior just have me rooting for Lautner. There's nothing about this interesting. And like the posters lie. This poster right beside me, guys. Oh, guess what? The characters are on a roller coaster. They don't go to a fucking theme park in this movie at all. So what was the point of the shot then? So misleading. There's no amount of comedic genius in this whole 90 minutes that would bring anything back at all. It's like this was just headed straight to the movie morgue. And some awful computer animation on animals. Like about 45 minutes into the film, I was just waiting for this movie to end. The story was going nowhere. The script's just killing time right until the 80s part at the end. So then after the whole query scene, Lenny finds out Keith's a gifted football kicker, but then he accidentally breaks his son's leg, and apparently he's too much of a dumbass to know what a broken leg is. And so it's not broken, it is broken, wow. Has this character not been to a hospital? Or not seen a broken bone? It can't even figure out if his son's leg is all broken? The point where even Hayek even calls him out on his stupidity. Even yells in Spanish, which is the one funny scene in the film, where she yells that their son's leg is broken, and even translated it to Spanish. That's the one bit that got a laugh out of me. And honestly, I can see why she yelled at him for his stupidity. Eric apologizes to Sally for avoiding her to spend time with his mother, which there should really be nothing wrong with doing. I think everybody should be spending more time with their moms regardless, so there's nothing wrong with that. Lenny becomes suspicious of Kyle's relationship with Roxanne, but there's clearly nothing between them at all. And Roxanne's angered by her employee's Penny's lifelong obsession with Lenny. Marcus does start to bond with Brain, that hardly looks like his son at all. Charlotte goes on her date with Tim Meadows' annoying, cringy son. Andre passes driving testing by Wiley. Although it was clear that the frat boys reveal his fake drunkenness. The ones who hate the residents, and these guys hate the town residents, but they give a beer to Wiley, though. So, and Wiley immediately is all taking your driver's test while drunk, -5 points. But it's clear if Wiley just probably decided to let Andre pass his test because they end up at a car wash where their car got washed by a bunch of hot girls. So I guess Wiley let the incident slide for that. Then James and Bella, they get another gross bit with the guys washing their car. And one of them licks bird poop off their car, which is not funny, and that's just disgusting as hell. And Greg succeeds in asking out this crush of his, Nancy, while he's working at Bailey's ice cream shop. Seriously, how is this rated PG-13? This felt so R-rated. There's not actual nudity or profanity in this film, but there's so many disgusting shots, or disgusting car wash scene. This somehow feels rated R anyway. Profanity or no profanity. There's just so much disgusting male nudity in this film. Right here. They decide it's like they just wanted to make this film as disgusting as possible, hoping to get laughs out of people. And such juvenile comedy they could get. One character's a coach, he throws the ball at Tim Meadows' annoying son, and the coach says, "Who wants to see me climb a rope?" And climbs a rope, and he's wearing such tiny shorts that don't cover his parts well, you see a bit of his ass. This Dickie character gets tricked into hitting an ice cream machine. Yeah, Dickie Bailey. And chocolate ice cream splats under him, and it looks like he's taking a shit. And one kid's like, "That's where ice cream, whoa, that's where ice cream comes from? Yeah, 'cause that's fucking funny." Then later, it turns out Roxanne wants another child, because apparently she is pregnant, and it even tells Lenny that. And of course, Lenny's now throwing this 80s themed party for the whole town, and apparently most of the town arrives for it. And then Lenny finally realizes that her and Kyle were not having an affair at all. And apparently he repaired Becky's stuffed animal. Then, of course, Lenny challenges the wasted Steve Austin cameo to a fight. And he takes a dive and allows Lenny to look tough in front of his bullied son. So still more filler and no attempts at plot points at all. And how in the hell would the whole town know about one guy's party? Now, okay, I will admit, an 80s themed party actually seems cool. Because let's be honest, I wasn't born in the 80s, but I've learned a lot about the 80s. I know how the 80s was. So I like the idea of an 80s themed party. I'd probably, if there was an 80s themed party in my area, and anybody was invited, of course I'd go to it. I'd totally go to it. And if I had to dress in costume there, that would work because I have loads of costumes of 80s characters. Of 80s horror characters. So that would be easy for me. But now we get on with some more filler in our finale of filler. Because all this movie is filler. The fraternity crashes the party. The Taylor Lautner and his gang all crash the party. And it turns out David Spade's fake son vandalized their frat house. Then the fraternity members insult the townsfolk, which is well deserved because these townsfolks are fucking idiots. And then a brawl breaks out between them, and then the partygoers manage to defeat the fraternity. Andy then Taylor Lautner's character gets attacked by the CGI deer because of Becky's tactic with her stuffed animal. But I thought she was sad when it got destroyed. And it just got repaired, so she's willing to get it destroyed again? Apparently. I thought she loved that monkey. But she's perfectly fine with the deer destroying it. Again, all over again. So then Lenny and his friends, the gross Nick Swartzen bus driver, and their rival Dickie Bailey, they all go to Eric's mom's house. And they reminisce about their childhood. Then Eric's mother reassures Lenny about the new baby that he's going to have. They return to Roxanne, and they reconcile. And we end with Sandler talking to the baby. And at one point he asks, if the baby ends up being a girl, to go to ballet so he can keep seeing the hot instructor that annoys Roxanne, smacks Sandler on the head, despite the fact that her and her lady friends were hitting on their yoga instructor earlier. So that really shouldn't make any sense. It's kind of hypocritical to be annoyed over. Because you and your lady friends just did the same thing. Same thing like Sandler and his friends did when they saw that hot ballet instructor. So that makes no sense. And looking forward to their growing family. Then, of course, Sandler jumps into bed, and I forgot to mention, like, there's this gag involving Kevin James where he often does a thing called the burp snort, where you burp, sneeze, and fart at the same time. Sandler manages to do one. And literally, and then the last line you get is, "I did it for the baby." No, you did it for the money. Would be better. Because they did this movie for the money. Because Grown Ups 1 was profitable. Yeah, they did this whole filler compilation with no story and no plan whatsoever. It was just the whole game, actors filming themselves around a town, doing stupid shit, and thinking people would laugh at it. When I watch films like this, I'll stick with films like Clerks, Waiting, Dazed and Confused, Napoleon Dynamite. Those films have no plot, but they work well because the characters are enjoyable, the humor is gold, the script is great, they're original, there's a plan, and there's conflicts in the characters, in the roles. This has none of those qualities of those films. And the performances try their best, even if they get such shit material at all. But yeah, that's Grown Ups 2. I'm sorry this review sounds so long, guys, but like, there's just really no plan for this movie whatsoever. So it was kind of hard for me to talk about this film. Just no plan. Just a bunch of filler scenes. So it's kind of a struggle to really come up with what to say. Just a dog shit attempt at a sequel. If there is a redeeming quality, like the 80s party scene is nice. And like some of the actors like Taylor Lautner, they did fine for the material they were given. Like, and honestly, I was rooting for I was honestly rooting for the fraternity characters, and you can see why they clearly hate being in that town. If it's full of gross idiots, do you really blame them for having to be stuck in a town like that? Like nobody in small towns like this acts like this. I've been to small towns like that. Nobody acts like half of the people in this movie do. Nobody does. Like, nobody acts this disgusting. Or immature. Yeah, other than like the 80s party and and wanting the fraternity characters to win, just fuck this sequel. Grown Ups 1 was good, but dear God, like, Grown Ups 1 really did not need to have a sequel. It just really did not. It was fine on its own. You did not need to give it a follow-up. So fuck this sequel. In the end, guys, please avoid Grown Ups 2 and just go watch the first, because there's hardly much to enjoy or care for in this attempt at a movie. Anyways, guys, that's it for my rant on Grown Ups 2. If you're wondering how I'm going to rate Grown Ups 2, here's how I'm going to rank this movie. So overall, if you were happy to know of a sequel to Grown Ups, don't be happy, because this is not a good sequel to watch in the slightest. And if you're wondering how I'm going to rank Grown Ups 2, I'm going to give Grown Ups 2 a 3 out of 10. Alright, there we go, guys. Yeah, this rant took a bit of a while to happen, but I had some things to take care of, like this whole new background. Yeah, you're wondering this whole new background. That's because how I gotta start the Halloween series, filming the Halloween series next week. It's not gonna premiere till the week after though, but I gotta get started on the rewatches for this season. So that's why this whole background's here. Then of course, like, you have Jack Skeleton holding my son, the Don G sign. Sorry, don't see his face, but yeah, you can see his legs though. That is Jack Skeleton plush. That's a Jack Skeleton plush I do have. And yeah, like, and also, like, it's just, sorry to sound so slow too, it's just because there was just hardly much to really come up with or talk about, because there was no plot of this film. And plus, like, apparently I almost had a bit of a problem with my iPad. Like, I thought my charger port had been not working, and I thought I was gonna have to go get it repaired. Just so I was starting to finally get started on planning like stuff for YouTube, and it turns out I needed a new charging cord for it. So that was a bit of a frustration I had. But thankfully, like, that's all taken care of now. And I can finally get back to getting this whole series started. But yeah. Now I want to know in the comments down below what you thought of Grown Ups 2. And until then, that'll be it for this rant. Thank you all for watching. If you like this, want to see more, don't forget to like, subscribe to Don G. Corleone.